I'm going to use President Trump's word. You're crazier than hell. Isn't that what he'd say? He likes the word hell and damn. Okay, you're not getting your test back today because I got to still give it to my night class tomorrow night and so forth. Uh, Anyhow, people are still taking the test. Courtney just now took it, and I got a couple other people that text me and trying to set up a time for it and so forth. So,
You have our grades at least?
you what?
You have our grades at least?
I have them graded, but in fact, I left them home because I wasn't going to give back anyway.
So
Grades are not bad on them.
So you'll have them Thursday?
Yeah, you'll have them Thursday. Yeah. Um, Okay, everybody's got pre-registered and safe. I wrote your name on the door so we get you pre-registered tomorrow. Um, Okay, chapter 7 is behind us. So chapter 8, 9, and 10 is in front of us. Okay, internal control is the first part of chapter 8, and you can see it's just safeguarding your assets. All right, or it can ensure compliance and laws and regulations. RS tries to have internal control. You gotta. All right, this Oxley requires companies to maintain effective internal controls over recording of transactions. Now, this act came about because of Enron, one of the top 10 companies in the country, went down. They were falsifying balance sheets, income, everything. Okay. And all right, so that act affected us, and that was in your lifetime. All right, the objective of internal control office is to safeguard assets, accurate information, and compliance. A serious concern of internal control is preventing fraud. Employee fraud is the intentional act of deceiving an employer for personal gain. There's fraud, there's forgery, there's embezzlement. Okay? And there's also misrepresentation. Forgery, you know, that's signing somebody else's name on a document. All right, embezzlement, that's taking money without permission from your employer. Do what? All right, and then fraud is the intentional act of deceiving an employer for personal gain. There is a town manager down my way, and he's up for employee fraud. He gave himself a raise, and the town council had not approved that raise, and so forth. And he'd give himself a raise so he would have a higher retirement payback. And his trial comes up sometime in the spring. But there's a lot of employee fraud. All right, to control environment, risk management, control procedure, monitoring, information, communication, elements of internal control. All right, now, I've asked some of you all, how do you control cash? Is there a camera Does somebody have to sign off? Does two people have to sign a check? That's internal control when two people have to sign a check. If it's the treasurer of your company and a assistant treasurer, what have you. But for example, I was the budget director of a church that had a large budget. And they had no internal control whatsoever. Teachers that went to that church, they'd come in and burn the copier up. There's a lot of paper. And even the preacher, when he was out of town, he'd make collect telephone calls. And that cost too much. And too many people had a key to the church. And the secretary, she counted the money and deposited the money. Did that happen? Should she count the money, collections, and deposit it, and record it, and do a bank reconciliation?
She's a trustworthy.
What?
She's a trustworthy individual. If you steal from the church, you go.
If you steal from the church, you go to hell. Okay. There are people in churches that are crooked. Okay, there are crooked deacons and crooked preachers. Back in the day, before you all were born, if your name was Jimmy in the church, you were a bad person. Jimmy Jones, anybody heard of him? Jim Jones? He led a lot of people to their death.
Oh, is that the guy with all the colonial?
Have you heard of Jim Baker? Jim Baker had this big complex down in Charlotte, and I think his donations, his wife had an air-conditioned doghouse, a lot of makeup. Have you heard of Jim Baker? Then there was Jimmy Swagger. He got on his knees on stage and asked for forgiveness for having a bunch of affairs. So that was three preachers right there, all named Jimmy. Okay. My neighbor, a few years ago, my neighbor was a deacon. In the church I went to, in fact, he was a salesperson also, life insurance. They found him in a mobile home, dead of a heart attack, with a girlfriend, and they found him dead nude. That was a deacon. And his wife buried him on the tallest, deepest mountain you could find. In the area. I don't even know if anybody ever sees his grave or not. So he was a deacon. So everybody in church are not honest. But there's honest people in churches, okay? All right. But anyway, I had them to change. Okay. Margot has a story to tell.
No, I just had a question. So why did she bury him on the steepest hill?
Why did she what now?
Bury him on the steepest hill she could find.
She was mad at him.
Right, so what was it would be a hard way to go to see his, burial?
She was mad at him, the way they found him dead,
Right,
and she buried him on top of the mountain.
so it'd be hard for anyone to go see him,
Well,
or just to get him closer to God, that she could, because.
well, he probably needed closer to God. Okay.
Probably would be very.
But anyhow, of course, we're talking about things that some students may not believe in. We're talking about things that some people may not believe in. That reminds me, when I started at the UVA Wise in Clinch Valley, I didn't know there was such thing as an atheist, right? So I ran into this old boy named Woody. He was an atheist. All right, and I asked old Woody, have you ever been baptized? He said, yeah. I said, well, how to get baptized? You're an atheist. He said, well, I went to church with my girlfriend. And we were sitting in the back of the church. I was holding her hand and put my arm around her neck and everything. I wasn't paying attention to the preacher. He said, all of a sudden I looked up and the preacher was pointing, you need to come up. You need to come. He was doing the invitation. You need to go. He said, I thought the preacher was pointing to me. He said, I went up there and made baptized. So, but anyway, he's the first atheist I ever ran into. All right. People have a right to believe as they will. All business face risks in customer returns, cash, merchandise. First off, you need competent personnel, rotate duties, and mandatory vacations. Now, banks require you to take a mandatory vacation. And like I was told by the church, the deacon should have counted the money and gave it to the secretary. And the secretary should have brought back a deposit slip with that exact count that the deacons took. Okay? All right. And the way I solved it with a preacher, we got the preacher a telephone calling card, so we wouldn't have to pay those collect calls that he was making. And the secretary's husband was calling in collect when he was out of town. Cut that out. Okay, it's too expensive. And the preacher's utilities were paid for. At that time, telephone bills were ridiculous. You paid for long distance calls and so on. It's not like it is now. So I had the deacon to approve just a fixed amount on his telephone bill. If his kid's running over, let him pay it. So internal control, it happens in churches, it happens in government organizations, small business, large business, and even here at the college. And I know you've read situations where secretaries, even of an elementary, have ripped off $100,000. Separate responsibilities, separate operation, custody of assets, proof and security measures. Some of these movie theaters, you can get one ticket if you want to go and stay all day. You can see 3 or 4 movies, couldn't you? Just never come out of the main building. So that's not good internal control. You go to a high school football game where your buddy is taking up tickets. You go in without paying. They need internal control. Coaches in high school order themselves a lot of tennis shoes and athletic gear for personal use. That should be prevented. Okay?
We need to find new ways to think about practice.
That's right. Warning signs, change in lifestyle without winning the lottery, close social relationship with suppliers, refuse to take a vacation, frequent borrowing from other employees, excessive use of alcohol or drugs, or Red Bull. That's the delayed reaction from Margot. She's drinking Red Bull. Warning signs from the accounting system, missing documents, increase in customer refunds. Hey, if you work at Bell for something, you were charged of giving back refunds, or even at your desk or whatever. Difference between daily cash receipts, bank deposit, increase in slow payments, and backlog in recorded transactions. In the coal mines and back in the day, mine owners welcomed sons to go into coal mine with their dad because the dad could help train them, right? But on the other hand, banks who don't like to hire a sister or brother and sister or even cousin sometimes, because you're going to get in cahoots, so on, and try to commit fraud. Now look what cash includes. I asked Ryan which one of these he has on his person. He probably says none. Oh, you broke, Ryan?
$11.
Okay. You probably got coin and currency. And of course, you can see checks and money orders. Now, money on deposit with a bank that is available for withdrawal is also considered cash. Cash is the asset most likely to be stolen. Cash is easy to steal. You must control cash from the time it's received until you put it in the bank. Receive cash from customer, purchase product, and then making payments on account. Now, cash register and a video camera is a good control.
Actually had that happen at work on Friday. Some lady told me, called the next day, said I didn't give her money back, she got cash back. Pulled up on the cameras, plain as day, me handing it back to her.
She calls you a day later, says you didn't get my money back. Well, should have went out the door and come running back in.
That's what I was thinking.
Huh?
That's what I was thinking.
It make more sense if she ran out the door and come back in to get her correct change. How much money were you talking about?
It's $40.
What's her, $40? Well, it was enough to at least get drunk.
Yeah.
Okay, or do something with. So, cash over or short. If you have too much money in your cash register at the end of the day, you're over. If you have too little, you're short. All right. Would you take a lie detector's test at your place of work? Now, your cash register. Do you use it? Does everybody else use it?
Everybody pretty much uses it.
So they don't turn it over to you and count it at the beginning and the end, so everybody uses it. Now, if it came up $100 short, would you take a lie detector test? You should. Why? Why? Take a lie detector test. How do you know?
Because lie detector tests are proven in several court cases that they cannot tell the difference between whether or not you're lying or whether or not you're having a string at the same time.
Really?
Yeah, because it will speak that line whether or not you're lying, telling the truth. Because even Jeffrey Dahmer has lie detector tests. We know he ate it.
Okay. Anyhow, but some still put some fake in them, okay? You're going to work at a drugstore, especially in the pharmaceutical, they ask you to take a lie detector test. They don't want to hire a known druggie. Now the cash register totaled $35,690. Cash receipts was only $35,668. You got $22. What? All right, you had $2. I mean $22. Too much or too little? Do what?
Your receipts doesn't match the cash sale.
The shortage.
Yeah.
You were short, weren't you? Now, short is debit, like an expense. Short is debit. Now, if it was over, you would credit it like a revenue. So you're short $22. You know, out of 35,000, that's probably not bad. Now, if that's out of 200, that's bad. It's included at the end of the month miscellaneous income or expense. Okay, electronic funds transferred. Now, I asked you that last week. Okay. How many of you said you had your check automatically deposited? Okay. Now, how many of you have something automatically taken out of your bank account? What do you have taken out?
Electric bill, cable bill,
You have it automatically taken out every month, electric and cable,
all kinds of.
Insurance, every 6 months.
automobile, insurance.
A phone, and then various entertainment sites like Netflix, Hulu, stuff like that.
You too?
You know, I don't have YouTube Red.
I mean, iTunes.
iTunes? No, I have Spotify.
All right. You can have almost anything. I have life insurance. I have Netflix automatically deducted, home securities automatically deducted, and so forth. But be careful at the end of the month, make sure you make those deductions.
You can pretty much pay anything online now.
Yeah. Just be careful. All right. Payments are made for only authorized transactions. Cash is used effectively and efficiently. Control should ensure that all available purchase discounts are taken, as we had on the last test. Some companies use a voucher system. We're not going to do any problems with the voucher, probably in this chapter. A voucher is just an approval. You get it approved before it's paid. Now, cash can also be paid by electronic transfer. Examples include the following. Now, a withdrawal of cash from a bank account using an ATM card. Now, if you do that, you better keep up with it. Using a bank account. Bank accounts reduce the amount of cash on hand. It's an independent recording. You're going to electronic funds transfer. Now, the bank statement, folks, is a big part of this chapter. And to do a bank reconciliation is a big part of this chapter. And we're going to do one before the period's over. Okay? So, look at this